Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Happy Thursday to you. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Impact Tribe podcast, where we meet exceptional people who create a positive impact on the world. I'm your host, Ashley Bright. We are streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube from my backyard, where it's still cool enough to spend some time outside. Here in Arizona, it starts to get pretty warm in the next few weeks, so I'm going to take advantage of it. If you're new to the channel, please follow us or subscribe. We're on Instagram and YouTube at the Impact Tribe Podcast. We're also soon to be, I'm very excited about this, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So keep an eye out for that. That will be wonderful. I am so excited about that. Now, before we get to my guest, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Opus Clip. If you are not familiar with Opus Clip, they are phenomenal. I use them every day. Opus Clip is an AI video editing software that allows you to take long format video, you pop it in there, and it spits out little short clips that you can share on social media. It does all the captioning and editing. It is a huge, huge time saver. And so if you're interested, use this code right here to get a discount. You will not regret it. It is a fabulous, fabulous piece of software. So, all right, thank you so much. All right, now let's get to my guest. I am very excited to introduce this individual. I am streaming his little info across the bottom here. He is a sought-after international speaker, best-selling author, and leadership and mindset coach. He's trained hundreds of corporate leaders and entrepreneurs to become win-win communicators, in addition to his work leading a global movement that has generated over 6 figures for charitable causes. Everyone, please put your hands together for my guest, Alex Dumas. Alex. Yay!
Yeah,
Welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for being here.
No, appreciate it, man. Great to be with you, Ashley. Great to be with this Impact Tribe, and excited for this conversation.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how's your day been going? I noticed when we got here, you were saying you were having some technical issues.
Yeah, everything was low key and up to on schedule, so to speak, and then getting onto the StreamYard and getting things prepared, having a few tech glitches, bit nervous moments, but you keep cool under pressure. That's the way that we just roll around here, and now we're here.
Nice, nice. Well, these things happen. I did a LinkedIn Live, I don't know, I guess back in 2024, and it was just towards the end of the year, and it was going to be an audio live, right?
Yeah.
And I scheduled it and everything else, but I didn't realize that LinkedIn was doing away with those events. And so, however it happened, I screwed it up, and so I went to go live, and the only option I had was to be a participant. I couldn't host. And I was like, what the? And so for like 15 minutes, I was frantically trying to figure out how to solve it. And then I had to concede defeat, and then that was when I realized that, like, if you didn't schedule it like a month or so earlier, LinkedIn wasn't allowing any more new ones. So
you had to
well.
RSVP to like your own birthday party, right? Like,
Exactly. These things happen. But so my friend, thank you so much for being here. I have been seeing you all over the place. You've been on my feed constantly, and I want to give you a shout out, because the whole trend of the action figure in a plastic box thing that OpenAI started, you were the first in my feed to have it. And so you jumped on that. So kudos to you, because subsequently I've seen about 6 or 8 come through, but you were the first where I was like, wow, that is cool. How did he do that? Where did he get that from? And then a couple days later, I was reading about it.
Yeah, I was inspired by a couple of other folks. I forget one speaker in particular. Her name is Peijin Ichivara, and I saw hers. I'm like, dang, that really looks like her. They really, it was spot on. I'm like, all right, I gotta get on this and just have some fun. And I played with it over the weekend. And the first couple of iterations were, let's just say, not quite me. I showed my kids. They're like, who is that? I'm like, I don't know. But they got this last one right. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stick with it. It's got the message and the colors, all that, right? So I'll take it.
That's awesome. It's kind of like, I think, your first draft of anything, when you're writing it, you kind of look back at it after you've gotten to the final and you're like, God, that was terrible. What was I thinking? And I think there's that AI version where you're like, hey, there's 3 hands. I don't understand what happened.
Right. It's like the 3-eyed fish. Same thing with speech writing, right? As I'm writing keynote talks, it's like, I think this is great. And then you kind of step back, peel back the layers, ask for feedback from trusted friends, advisors, colleagues, peers, and then you kind of get to this like you said, the final version, like this is so different from what I intended or how I wanted to express it, but that's why we go through the process.
Exactly. That's where that evolution, that growth, and it's taken me a long time to figure out, and it's sort of ironic because it's so obvious, but the first time you do anything is never going to be great. It's going to be a work in
What?
progress. And
Wait, we're supposed to just get it like that, like overnight success. What are you
well,
talking about?
that's what social media says, right? I should just, I'm going to open my YouTube channel up and I'm going to have millions of subscribers and live on
Million.
an island.
We're on billions now. Actually, come on, it's 2025. Billions right up the gate. It's something that what you're sharing, something that alludes to a point that I always share with my kids and even with clients, that it's hard to look good and get better at the same time. You're gonna have to choose. Do you want to look good? Do you want to be impressive? Or do you actually want to make an impact? Do you want to make a difference? Do you want to have an anchored foundation of truth and success, a track record? Because you can't have both at the same time. At some point, they'll look good and they get better. They'll intersect. They'll come together. But at the beginning, and it depends on how long it takes and mentoring you get, coaching and all that, and programs and where you invest in yourself. But that track that can get fast tracked, or it could be a bit of a slower pace, and that's fine. It's your race, it's your pace. But just recognize starting out, it's going to look a lot different from that final version or the evolved version.
I love what you just said there. It's your race, it's your pace.
Yeah.
That is, it's such a great and very brief reminder to try to avoid the comparison, try to avoid sort of looking at everyone else and seeing like, where am I at? I mean, it's good in terms of a goal setting and I think motivation,
Yeah.
but it can be problematic, I think, especially in our culture. I heard this the other day that I really appreciated, which was you can be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time.
Ooh,
And
church.
I appreciated that one too, because I was like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Because it's all, we all have those goals and those milestones, but if you're really truly sort of looking at the long game, there's always another milestone. There's
Yeah.
always another step that you can take.
And that's the fun of it. I believe it's that pursuit of it. And I think Jim Rohn had said is right. Don't become a millionaire because of what $1 million would do. Become a millionaire for who you have to become in order to be a millionaire. Right? It's a difference. I threw out this question probably a year or so ago on the socials. Right, on the soch
On the
for the young
social.
folks. I'm hip. I have aura. I have Riz. Anyway, I threw out the question like, would you rather have $1 million or would you rather be a millionaire? And some people didn't quite get it, didn't interpret it right, or not. Actually, it's not right, but they didn't understand what I mean. I had to dive into it a little bit, but that was the basic point, right? Being a millionaire, being someone who can generate, who can accumulate, and who can leverage leverage outside help, or leverage your network in order to
Mm-hmm.
support you versus I'm just gonna get it. I mean, money's hard is easy to get, it's hard to keep. Rick James
Yeah.
was rich once, right? Going to Chris Rock, there's a difference between being rich and wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Shaq is rich. The person who signs Shaq's checks is wealthy.
Yeah.
Difference.
Yeah, definitely. There's it blew out of my head right now. I just had a thought. I'll come back to me, but just on that. Oh, I know what it was. It was Jim Carrey, who famously I was interviewed, and he said, I wish everyone could experience what it's like to be rich at some point because they would realize that that is not what fulfills you. It's
Yeah,
the journey, it's what you learn and become and the kind of person you show up as to get to that point rather
yeah,
than just as you said, like, I got the money, and yet you're still miserable, you still don't know what you want to do, you're still frustrated or whatever it is.
yeah. That's the majority of lottery winners, right?
I know a lot of them lose all that money within a few years, gone. So all right, well, I would love to learn more. I mean, I know, but I want our listeners to learn more about what you are up to and how you are having an impact in the world. And so whether you want to go backstory or you want to jump right in with where you are right now, I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, you can throw in. It'll be a nice jambalaya, mix of
Okay,
all.
I
Because
love it.
right as someone watching this can see me on the screen, they see the book in the background, the QR code to connect with me, the nice little logo here. Like, man, this is impressive. That's amazing. And yeah, it is because I designed it. Of course, it is. And I also want to let them know, as we've been talking
Here,
about the
hold on.
part.
As you're saying, sorry to interrupt. As you're saying that, I'm going to remove myself so you go full
Okay.
screen and
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. So everybody can see this. That what me and Ashley have talked about before is about this is part of the process, right? This wasn't built in one day. They say Rome wasn't built in one day. Well, there's a reason why, because Rome was built over thousands of days. And same thing for me. I work with leaders of color, black leaders, black indigenous people of color, and help them what I call build unshakable confidence. And the reason why that's important for me is because I did not grow up with a lot of confidence. I put on some bravado as a class clown, as somebody who was athletic, somebody who was popular, but on the inside, if you think about like the lottery winners, they have all the money, got everything going for them, but on the inside, I was a lottery winner. I was struggling with my identity. I was struggling with my own confidence, struggling with my place in the world, wondering, do I belong in different spaces with my family, having some challenges there where I felt disconnected. I had a loving uh, upbringing. I grew up in New York and Long Island. Shout out to Brentwood, and there were a lot of laughs there. I was the youngest of four kids. My parents immigrated from Haiti to the United States in the early 1970s, and with that, they brought over some unconscious beliefs and habits that children are meant to be seen, not to be heard. And I grew up feeling like my story didn't matter, my voice didn't matter. I didn't know I could really speak up for myself, advocate for myself. So that created this identity of not being important, not feeling invisible, feeling like I was inadequate. And my way to compensate for that was through humor, was through acting out, through being the class clown and never turning it off, just always on, always on. Never could have a down moment because people would be like, Alex, what's going on? Nothing's wrong, right? The mask, putting on the face, leads into drug use as a teen and young adult, and depression, and all these things to isolate myself from the world. And luckily enough, this thing called MySpace existed, and I found my wife through there. I
Mm.
don't recommend it for everybody. This is just my story. This is how it happened for me. And over the past now 10 years, it's just been this process of working on myself, developing myself, and using whether it's private coaching to help people to inspire, or through the stage and through podcasting, and just letting people know that their story matters and their voices matter. So that's me in a nutshell. Nice condensed. Hopefully
Yeah,
that
no,
made sense.
that's a great story, quite a journey, and I think one that everybody can relate to, regardless of your circumstances and your upbringing. We've all had those moments of uncertainty and fear and not
Yeah.
fitting in, and then looking for what external validation
Yeah.
can we get for that. And I think, to your point, a lot of it manifests as, especially in men, this sort of machismo and this bravado and this
Yeah.
swagger, and when in reality there's a lot of pain and a
Yeah.
lot of sadness that we're yearning to be heard. And I think it's so wonderful that yourself and others are out there saying you should be heard, you should speak up. I mean, one of the things that I talk about in my work is I firmly believe that we all have value and perspective and an
Yeah.
idea and knowledge that's worth sharing. And I hate the notion that you might not be share it simply because you're afraid to do public speaking, or afraid to get on stage or get on a podcast or whatever it is, or not be able to articulate it in a way that others feel that opportunity. And so that's what's driven me for the last 12 years, is helping people find that voice, helping people build that comfort and that confidence to share it. And it's a game changer, as I'm sure you know, with your clients and yourself, that being able
Yeah.
to get up there and share something and have others, kind of this light bulb goes on, this moment of clarity because they got something from you, is powerful.
Yeah. It's liberating because I share this often that as a kid I condemned myself, right, at a young age, of having this belief of not being important, not existing, and I shared that in a different book called The Journey of Riches. That's essentially my life story, and within about 5,000 words. So
Mm.
was the story I gave you, and then just a little bit more detail, obviously some more context. So I have this little Alex who's condemned himself versus big Alex who can command, who can do things that are commendable and inspire people. And
Mm.
I feel like that part of my life, it was necessary. It was the breeding grounds. It was what created me. and it's painful to go through what we go through at times, but I always held on to that little seed. Actually, I always had like that little thing inside me, like, well, what if I can do more than this? Even at the lowest phases where I was just a total dirtbag, scumbag, treating everybody wrong, using people, lying, stealing, cheating,
Mm-hmm.
and I always had like that little thing inside of me, like, yeah, you're better than this. There's
Mm-hmm.
more for you than this, and I think I just held on to that. And then when met my wife, she was one of the first people to really pour belief into me. I did one of these, right? It went in one
Mm-hmm.
year, but it didn't go out the other. I listened
Uh,
to it. I
yeah.
heard her internally. I felt it, because before people would be like, Alex, you're great, you're this and that, and it just, I'm like Neo from the Matrix, man. Like, it would not take. You could not get me to believe that.
Yeah.
And that's my own. That's me. I take responsibility for that. I didn't have the maturity at that age to receive and be grateful and have all these things. But she was really that catalyst, and then the work I've done with myself and the investments into myself. And it's gonna sound cliche. So for you people out there, like, oh god, here we go, Alex. You really are the best investment if
Mm.
you are committed to a bigger picture, to a bigger vision beyond yourself. I'm telling you, miraculous things can happen. I'm testament to that.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. One of the things I appreciate about this point in our world with technology is and conversations like this is there are opportunities now for you to hear the backstory of people you may have idolized, whether they're celebrities or athletes or others, and you hear exactly what you're talking about. That it wasn't a yes, they had that maybe that inner drive and that they could see something more, but
Yeah,
it was those other people that kind of came into their lives that helped them or poured into them to see something bigger or help them get there. And I you've mentioned your wife a couple times. I mean, my wife has been this tremendously valuable catalyst in my life because she grew up very differently from me and came from different circumstances, and she's given me a perspective on the world and about myself that I sometimes wonder, like, where would I be, what would I have become if I'd never met her?
yeah,
Because I just grew up in a very different way, and even to this day, I mean, every day she's rallying for me. She's allowing me to, I'm in a bit of a rut somewhere, and she'll point out something and kind of get me to look at it a different way. And it's we all need those people in our lives that see the opportunity.
yeah. We need champions in our life, right? And it's one part of a framework that I teach from the stage. I call WIN, WIN, and that N part is for network, and really looking at the inner circle. This is going to be a familiar phrase, so anybody who grew up who were born in the late 1900s, you know, who we didn't have oxen die, we nobody had dysentery, so that's going to be for
That's
the
good.
80s babies to laugh about that. You'll get the joke. But there's that old expression that birds of a feather flock together,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for a long time, I was a duck, just waddling around, waddle waddle away, right? For those who know the duck song, right? Just kind of quack quack quack, just trying to figure things out. And I'd always kind of look up and see like these eagles soaring, right? These
Mm,
people who are just moving, making things happen, enjoying life, having fun. And I'm like, I want to have fun too, but like I said, the maturity at the time was, oh, they get to have fun and I don't. I guess I'm
mm-hmm.
not worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Until I started getting into some of these rooms with some of these individuals. I'm like, oh, they're regular folk. They got doubts, they have worries, they have fears just like me. But the difference is they move forward anyway, right? I was stuck in this bubble of it's just me against the world. Actually, life sucks. The man's beating me down. No, this girl doesn't like me. I'm a moron. I'm an idiot. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, you can believe all that, but what's a different story you want to write? I,
Yeah.
I I'm the author. I don't have to live on default settings as auto. I actually have choice. I think that's the big difference that's revolutionized my life. Like, oh, I have a choice. And
Mm-hmm.
with that choice, right, great power comes great responsibility. I'm responsible for all this, whether it's something that I did want, an outcome that I wanted or didn't want. I'm at the center of this, right? Someone said to me a long time ago that every time I've had a problem in my life, I've always been there.
Mm. Ooh, that's powerful.
Oh. right? Oh, I was like, it's like a velvet glove smack. Like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's true. I've always been there when things have gone wrong or haywire, and
Mm-hmm.
every situation I've ever been in, I've found a way through it. I've created an opportunity to survive it or move my way past. So there's something in there in me that can lean more toward this side, this creative side,
Mm-hmm.
this side of possibility versus default. This is who I am. Too bad, so sad. Nothing I can do. Actually, just who I am. I'm a product of my environment. Whoop whoop.
Yep. Yeah, no, I know it's powerful that notion of, and I've lost my train of thought. I do this often. I have these great thoughts as, as I'm listening, and then
That's the state of
I
mind, man.
exactly. But just that you can your mind will find that bias to support whatever perspective you have. And
Yeah,
so if you want things to be shitty and you want things to be hard and reinforce the fact that, like, as you said, I'm not worthy, I'm no good, I can't do anything. Hey, the universe will provide. But if you start to train, if you start to, and this is hard, and I've only really understood this in the last, 5 or 6 years, but you start to kind of find those things that are beautiful, those things that are encouraging, the people in your lives that are, like maybe your main crew is like, we don't really get it, we're not sure what you're doing, but there's maybe someone in your school or someone at your church or someone somewhere that
yeah,
kind of gets it, and kind of finding that silver lining, that person or that moment, and finding more and more and more of that to help you kind of change that circumstance.
yeah. I'm gonna take people old school right now, man. I was Columbo. I was sniffing for all the clues. Oh, there's just one more thing, right? I would
There's
find
always one more thing.
there's always one more thing. Like I would find the evidence in my home where I didn't belong, or I wasn't worthy. I was an outsider. I was an outcast. I would find it in school. I would find it with classmates. I would find it with my teammates. Everywhere I was going, right? I was just, man, there it is. Exhibit, evidence like Bagman,
Yep.
just exhibit A, exhibit B. I would collect all these things, and obviously you can imagine how much that served me, right? If I'm
Mm-hmm.
stewing in negativity, stewing in these thoughts of unworthiness and suicidal thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly ready to throw my life away, right? I have two kids right now, 14. My son's about to be 10 years old in a couple of weeks. I got a beautiful wife. I got dogs. I have a home. I'm safe and secure. I got people that love me. And at some point, I was ready to throw that away, like literally just throw my whole life away. For what? Because a temporary discomfort, a temporary um, being offended by somebody
Mm-hmm.
would have
Mm-hmm.
triggered me to react in a way of violence. And for what? Like I've never even seen these people again in my life. I don't. Anyway.
Yeah. It's amazing that the power that we give other people, many of whom we don't even know, because we don't
Mm,
want to be embarrassed, we don't want to look silly, we don't want to be called out. And for me, I've finally reached that point, and I think it's through both age and maybe it's more the experience. I've had what people have talked about, which is that earned wisdom,
yeah.
where I've had enough life experiences, I've had enough ups and downs to, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm almost at that point where it's like, I just don't really care what you think.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a dismissive way or I'm going to act terribly. It's more that, to your some of your earlier points, that like I'm moving somewhere, I'm heading in this direction. And the fact that you don't get it, or you're not there to support me, or you want to poke fun, okay, whatever, water off my back, to use your duck analogy, but like I don't, I'll move on. And it's interesting. You see this on social media, you see this with celebrities, they talk about it, where it's like you have those detractors, those haters as you're coming up. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden there's a switch happens, and all of a sudden now they're your greatest fan. And
We knew you
it's,
could do it all along.
yes, yes, and I think that we run into that oftentimes. I think with well-intentioned people, family members, friends, who are like, well, Alex, maybe you should shoot for this rather than this, because
Yeah.
just, be safe. And I get it. I mean, they have good intentions, but I think there's also that sense of like, you're breaking out of the tribe. You're trying to do something different. You're trying to build a different sort of, as you said, birds of a feather. You're trying to change that group, and that's threatening to
Yeah.
people sometimes. And so it's you have to kind of find that strength within, and also have that grounding to kind of be able to stop and kind of look at it and go, I think they have good intentions, but I don't like what they're saying. Or this person over here, as you said, like the Columbo, like, oh, that one over there, they get it. They're kind of off on the sidelines, but they get it.
Yeah.
And finding those people and aligning to them.
Yeah. It's just a beautiful thing to find good people, people that are on the path. And what I would say about people that we may call haters, I go back to Cat Williams. You need those haters, right? If you're the right kind of person, if you're like me, if you have like that little like edge to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think about The Last Dance. That's probably one of the even though I hated Michael Jordan growing up as a kid, I'm a New York Knicks fan. So every year we never could get past him because of the Bulls.
Yeah.
But after watching The Last Dance, I had this new appreciation of him. Like, oh, he's psycho, but I get it. You can't become him without doing that. And you need those haters. You need those people who are those little slights, those little like
Mm-hmm.
like I said, the little offenses. You're like, okay, I'm gonna show you. I got you.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like fuel. It's like ammo
Yeah.
or something, just to kind of. It's so funny you brought that up. I was just thinking last night, just randomly in my YouTube feed, it was like the top 30 like Jordan all-time highlight moments. And I
Mm,
sat there and I watched, because that was like my youth,
right.
and just to watch, and not only the move that he made and scoring the point, but his reaction,
Yeah.
this, just this like sort of elation, but with, as you said, sort of this level of aggression and almost anger, where you could tell it was directed at like like an opponent that had
Yeah.
been in his face the whole game, or something the fans had said, or something the media had said about his performance at a previous game. Like, there was just this fuel
Yeah.
that he had that was incredible.
No, I think is obviously as a basketball player and as an entrepreneur, he's an example of what it looks like when you can be completely locked in. Because I think that's honestly one of his best, his greatest talent is to
Mm.
be present in the moment and see what's happening on the court and block out all the other stuff, but yet somehow be able to like see like that guy in row C12 and be like, "What? I got you.
That was for you.
That was for you." And like,
Yeah.
Jordan just called me right. You know what I mean? But that's the level of focus that as
Hmm.
anybody, whether you're a coach, speaker, entrepreneur, whatever your business is, being able to be locked in and what you're doing, block out people, but also kind of keep the receipts in your mind, right? That's what the kids say now. I'm keeping
Keep the
receipts,
receipts. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And it's always fun to prove somebody wrong, and you got to be careful with that dark energy sometimes can be self-destructive. It's been that way for me at times where it's like, yeah, I did that, and then you hurt somebody, you offend somebody, or you maybe isolate friends and family because I'm working toward this project. That I've been in spaces where I'm up till 3, 4 in the morning. Go, go, go. And I ignore the people in my life. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't call it down. I only
You
call it
gotta
balance,
stay
but
grounded.
find the harmony between that energy of love and service and caring for people, and also that inner competitive person of like, all right, I'm gonna prove people that I'm not what you say I am. I declare who I am. I'm the author of my
Hmm.
story. You're a background character. I like how Ed Milet put this one time that people live their lives for these characters that don't have names, like bus driver number one, uh, guy at stand, right? Like when you look at the
That girl
movie,
at the beach.
yeah, right. It's like person holding newspaper. We're living our lives for those folks versus the main characters, the supporting characters in our lives.
I love that. I mean, that idea of, you are writing your own story, you are creating that for you. And so often the story that we tell ourselves is one of lack, or uncertainty, or fear, or as you said, kind of the bus driver, or that kid at school, or whatever. And it's powerful when you get to that point of realizing that you can write your own story. You can
Yeah.
change that narrative for yourself and the people around you that you love.
Yeah, I think that's when real life begins. That's why I love the work I do, specifically with the Black executive men and BIPOC leaders, because if you haven't been aware, it's been a tough go for folks of color in the United States for forever,
Forever,
but
I was gonna say.
forever, ever.
Forever,
But
ever, yes.
we also have a lot more resources, and I'm focused on just mobilizing people, unifying people, and sharing their collective brilliance. And I think when people can kind of get out of the scarcity mode, like, oh my goodness, if Ashley's winning, that means I'm losing. That's
Mm.
far from true. Ashley's winning. He's doing this thing. He's got a great family. You being a great dad, you being a great husband doesn't take away from me being a great husband and great father. Actually, and now we're having a conversation. There might be some other great fathers and husbands listen to this, watching this, like, yeah, that's awesome that these guys can come together, have a great conversation as brothers from different sides of the world, different sides of the fence, but it's for the bigger purpose of helping humanity, uplifting
Mm.
people, helping people speak up, stand up, and advocate for themselves, build confidence. That's a
I,
beautiful thing. If you're not with that, then hey, more power to you. I'm gonna be with the folks who are on this path.
absolutely. I love that you said that collective excellence.
Yeah,
I think that is so powerful, and it's the reason why I do this podcast is just celebrating the diversity of voices and perspectives and energy. And I think I mentioned this earlier that because of this technology, because of podcasts, we get to hear people's story. And I think it's also why, and I say that I have a 17-year-old son who is more engaged in the world than I ever was at that age. And I said to him that, like, part of the reason we're seeing the level of chaos in the world right now from sort of the institutions and the powers that be is because so many people that have not had a voice are now at the table, whether it's through social media or podcasting or entrepreneurship or whatever. And that's, I celebrate that. I'm excited about that. We need that diversity. We need that inclusivity. Except, that's ruffling feathers, and
yeah.
that's, I think, one of the reasons we're seeing so much of the challenges now. And it's been really interesting having having a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, but the 17-year-old more so, like, to try and unpack a lot of the things that he hasn't experienced, and
Mhm.
put some context around things for what's going on, and why we need more voices like yours, more people that are sharing and putting things out there, to waken everyone up so they can speak up and be heard.
Yeah, I mean, diversity is in the threat. Think about this, right? Our words matter, like they literally create. So think about this microphone we're speaking into, this camera that we're using, StreamYard as a service, and LinkedIn. At some point, this never existed. Somebody had to speak into the world. Well, wouldn't it be great if some guy from Arizona and some guy from North Carolina could have a conversation one day? How do we do that, right? And that's the
Mm-hmm.
seed. That's the brilliance of ingenuity, of innovation. Someone thinking something different.
Mm-hmm.
Wright brothers, hey, we might be able to fly in the sky. You guys are crazy. Why would we ever want to fly? Driving is the only thing to do. Before that was horse and buggy. Before that was walking. Before it
Yeah.
was like maybe a unicycle with a wheel, like a stick in it, right? However we got around. But somebody's always had to think different outside the box, and they're criticized, they're condemned in the moment, and then not until the eagle view, it's like, oh, they're a genius. Wow, how brilliant. How did we not see that? Like, duh. Of
Yeah.
course we need fire. Of course we need of course we need we need clean water. Of course we need whatever it is. Right?
Yeah.
So
And
innovation and diversity fuels that.
yeah, and to kind of sort of then go to the next point, which is like, so you put that out there, you speak that into the world, you speak that into the universe, and people go, oh, you're crazy, that doesn't make any sense, it'll never work. But because you did that, it resonated even with just one person who
Yeah.
says, that's, I know how to do that, or let's get together, let's figure this out. And that's what I think is just so powerful about the ability to share, to be heard, that even if it's one person, like with this podcast, if one person hears it and there's some insight, there's some glimmer that, like, leads them to a place, like, that's huge. And you've got millions of people doing these podcasts social
Yeah.
media, videos, whatever. It's just this wonderful kind of dispersing of energy and knowledge that is so valuable. And maybe there's someone just like you were as a young kid who's struggling, doesn't know where they fit, and they see something and
Yeah.
they're like, huh, that, oh, maybe that's me. Maybe that could be me.
Hey man,
And
that's God energy, man. Like, 'cause I'm gonna take people to church right now. All this that happened, right, is a result of love. Like so much love that it had to be expressed as mountains, rivers, oceans, land, people, animals.
mhm,
Like all this love to create, and we have that all in us. Right, if you believe what I believe, we're made in His image, right? For me, that is my ding ding ding. That all right, I'm cut from the same cloth as a creator. If you were to slice me open, Ashley, it might look like blood and organs and plasma and veins and all this stuff, but for me, that's abundance. For me,
mhm.
that's creativity. That's me having dominion over myself and being able to transfer that to whoever I'm speaking with and communicating with.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's I love it. I love it. We have, this is always a sign of a good conversation when you go over, and I didn't really notice, and I don't know if you noticed. I hope you didn't have a hard stop. You didn't have a client call you're missing right now.
No, no, we're
But
solid.
I wanted to thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me and to share with us. And I want to give you the opportunity. Is there anything you've got upcoming, speaking opportunity, something you're releasing, anything that people would want to know about? And also, how can they get in touch with you to learn more?
Yeah, yeah, I think you appreciate that. And I'll say this that you and I, you never have to thank me for the time because we both agreed to be here together. So I appreciate you for the platform, for sharing, for just being engaged and provoking some thoughts as well. So that this was always time well invested. As far as your other question goes, way that folks can connect with me, go on speakeralexdumas.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So do you see my face, hear my voice? This is a real person. You'll likely get a voice message or a video note from me. So it's not a bot. It's nobody doing the stuff behind the scenes for me. This is me. And as far as speaking goes, I'm going to be at a couple of different events in North Carolina. I'm at the RTP area. So if you're in Raleigh, come check out Triangle Business for the Good Summit. That's on May 14th. I'll be speaking at the annual District 117 Toastmasters Conference next month as well. That is my time is Saturday morning, the 17th, but the conference is from the 16th to the 18th. And you can check in my daily podcast. So go on this, whatever site it is. That's my link tree. Take your phone, scan that. You'll get access to all my socials, all the everything you need to know about me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alex. I really, really appreciate your time and your energy and the work that you're doing. We need more and more voices of diverse perspectives out there engaging and sharing. And so I want to thank you for your time and just wish you a wonderful rest of the week.
Yeah,
And if there's anything I or anyone out there can do to support you, I'm happy to do that.
yeah, man. Appreciate you. Ashley's been a
Awesome,
pleasure,
awesome.
dude. Stay blessed as always.
Thank you so much, my friend. We'll talk to you very soon.
Wrap.
Cheers. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today and meeting Alex, an exceptional human being, and I'm so proud to have him share his story with us. And if you know someone that has missed this and you think it'd be great for them to see, the recording will be available on LinkedIn and YouTube. And as I said in the beginning, I would love a follow, a subscribe on Instagram or YouTube at the Impact Tribe podcast. Please share this with your friends and join me in 2 weeks on Thursday, April 24th, with my special guest, Ian Carter. Ian is a seasoned sales leader, trainer, and consultant specializing in high performing sales cultures. He's got a very, I've participated in this, so I can speak to it from experience, a holistic approach that integrates mindset, wellness, and proven sales strategies. Ian helps sales professionals and organizations maximize performance. So don't miss that. Tune in for the next Impact Tribe podcast on April 24th. And until then, thanks everyone for creating a positive impact in your world. Together, we can make change happen. So thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the week. We'll see you soon. Cheers.